Okay, so last week we did the V block or the triangle squared, and we showed you how to do 2 peaks in 1, and then we showed you Karen Montgomery's method. These two are very, very similar. Karen's rulers are excellent because you have to cut off your tips, so they line up beautifully. But this week we're going to show you the V block, which is what I screwed up on last week. So this week we're going to show you the V block trimmer from Deb Tucker. Now, what is the difference between the first two we showed you and this one? The first two we showed you last week, they cut the blocks really close. So when you want a 4-inch block, you're actually cutting your 4.5-inch pieces, which gives you no room to trim up or trim down. So if you're off a little bit, there's very little room to fix. On Deb Tucker's, you're going to cut them a little bit bigger and trim down, which I prefer. On most of my blocks, I prefer to cut a little bit bigger, especially if it's a more pieced block through triangle squared, flying geese. I've shown you that ruler. I like to cut a little bit bigger and then trim to size so that I don't cut off any of my points. So this one is a little more complicated to use. It's not a 2-part ruler. It's a 1-part ruler. And the lines, there's a lot of lines on here, so you have to study it a little bit to make sure that you're cutting in the right area. So we're going to start by cutting our triangles. We're going to start by cutting the triangles first. So she recommends that you take your strip, and I'm making 4.5 finished to 4, so my strip has to be cut at 5 inches. The first step that you're going to do is we're going to fold this end in, and we are actually doing double. So let's show you that. It doesn't matter if you have right sides together on this or wrong sides together or all sides up. We're going to fold in, and I'm going to line up this first line. It's really hard to see this first line right here, this little dashed line. That says that that is the cutting line for your fold line for your cutting triangles. So I'm going to lay that dashed line right on my fold. I have it straight across the bottom, and then I'm going to do a cut. So I'm going to do this cut just like that. Now this piece that I'm cutting off, I'm going to save that because that can be a wing on another block. So don't worry about that. So now what we have here are 2 of our main triangles. There's 2. Now we need to cut more. So now we have this angle, so we're not going to do a fold cut anymore, but we're going to go over here and we're going to find the center triangle line right here. What I'm going to do is I have this piece now. I'm going to flip it down, and now I can lay that line right on the edge right here. And I'm across the bottom on my 4.5-inch mark, and we're nice and even, and we're going to cut. Okay, so that's another set. Now I'm going to flip it again, just flip it towards me, making sure that I don't lose my line up. And then we're going to do another set. And I actually, on this piece, I can get one more set. Look at that. Now, I don't know that there's enough in that piece to do another piece, so we're just going to check. Nope, it's just enough that... So now I have all of these sets for my center triangle. And you get quite a few, depending on how many you want to make. So there are my center tries. The next thing we have to make now are our wings. We have to do the side triangles. So on your side triangles, you don't have to do a fold. You're going to go over to this next really thick line, and it actually says cut line for side triangles. So now we're going to use that line, making sure, now this is really important. You want wrong sides together or you want right sides together, but you don't want both sides right side up because you won't get a left and you won't get a right. This way we are cutting so that we're going to have a left. So here's what I cut. And we're going to end up with these. You have to have a left and you have to have a right. Otherwise, if you end up with two rights, you're not going to get a full V block. Okay, so to do that, we're going to start with this dark line here. I'm going to set it right on the edge. I'm lined up across the bottom and I lined up on the side. And again, we are simply going to cut. What's going on there? Okay, now there's one set. So now I have this one, and instead of flipping my fabric, I'm going to flip my ruler because here is number 2 side triangle. And it says right on there, number 2 side triangle. And I'm going to lay this one now across the tip, across the bottom, and on the side. And we're going to cut. There's another set. All right, so now we'll go back and we're going to do this side. Let's just do up the piece of fabric. We have a lot of triangles to make. And there's another set. Again, let's flip the ruler. So you can see, again, here's my second side. And see how easy this is once you figure out which lines are for what. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3 sets, 4 sets. We can get one more set. Oh, we can get 2 more sets. How about that? Oh, make sure you're lined across the bottom. You're even at the top. And I tried to pick fabric that was bright enough. All right, one more. And we can get one more cut. Off the sides, off the tip. I have so enjoyed doing this block. This was a lot of fun. All right, so now we have all of our side triangles. We're just going to stack these up and I'll take these home and do them later. So now comes the sewing process. So you're going to take your triangle that we've already done, and we're going to take a set of wings right here. Now, when you're doing this, set out your block so that you end up with them like this. Do not try. You can try if you want, but look what happens if you don't have them lined up in the right area. This is what you get. You don't want that. That is not a good block. That will not make a V squared block. So you want to make sure that when you put these together, that these sides line up. And you want to line up, so we're going to go to the iron, Gabe. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get my glue out. You just step right around here. And at first I wasn't gluing. I thought, I don't need to glue. This is just small points. And the fabric is going to stretch on you because these are all bias edges. So make sure that you get your little dab of glue. Then you're going to make sure that these points match here, down the side, and across the bottom. Turn it over and make sure that you are even. We're going to hit it with the iron. And then you're going to do all of these on one side first. So you're going to go through, let's do another set. Let me show you really close up. It always helps to do it in sets. Again, I'm going to take my triangle. I'm laying my pieces out. I'm not going to try and guess. And we're going to put this one aside. We're going to use, does the glue show up on there, Gabe? Mm-hmm. And I'm doing 3 spots of glue. On my sewing machine, when I was working with these, the fabric did shift a lot. So line your point along the edge and at the tip. Make sure you're lined up on the other side. Hit it with your iron just for a few seconds. Now go through and do all your pieces like this. Then let me grab my ones that are done. Now, you can chain piece these. So what I did was I chain pieced all of these blocks like this. Now let me give you a little tip here. Because you're working with these points, I used a little starter. So this is just like one of those little scraps of fabric. I sewed off on this and then I went right to my point. So this does not pull down into my machine. I just cut this off and I keep using it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I've got several of those sitting at my machine.
Yes. So I have a whole stack left from something else, and I'm going to actually just cut it off right now because I don't need it. But I wanted to show you that because I know there's a lot of beginners out there that don't know what these are. There's a lot of different names for them, but these are just like little starter cheaters. The next step we're going to do is I'm going to use my Acorn Precision Piecing Pen. This has got the treatment in it, not glue.
Correct.
Don't put glue in this. And I'm going to pump it. Let's cut these apart. Let me get my scissors really quick. Let's just cut these apart. We're just going to cut these apart. Some of you have those little handy thread things on your machine. So now what we're going to do, we're going to pump one time or a couple of times, and I'm running it right across. Is it? Yep, it's soaking in. So now I'm going to do them all. However many I've done, I'm going to do them all. Let it soak in a little bit. Keep going.
And what's nice is that this allows the treatment to soak into the thread, to the fiber, to everything, and gives it a minute or two to actually set while you're doing. So if you've done 25 or 30 of these and you want to let it set for a minute so that it does get into the fiber and you're not just boiling it off.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. So now that we've done this, I'm going to simply press this to the right side. I'm going to use my pressing tool and I'm just going to flatten it. I mean, already, I don't even have to hit it to the iron if I don't want to. There is such a little ridge there. I can't stress enough to some of you who are doing this that ridges along your seam lines can throw your whole quilt off when it comes to finishing up. So I had a student bring her quilt in one time and she was doing a Mariner's Compass and her rows didn't line up, but way back in the center there was like 1/8 of an inch of these ridges that weren't flat, and by the time she got done she was like 1.5 inches off. So that's a lot when you're trying to line up your points. I'm not even hitting it with the iron yet. That's how wonderful this product is. I'm not stretching the fabric either. I'm just gently pressing the seam flat. If I didn't want to, if I was sitting at my machine and my iron was on the other side, I wouldn't even have to get up and go and press these. I am going to do that just today to follow through to show you. And again, there is no pressure on the iron. I am not ironing. I am simply putting heat to the seam.
Yeah, let the weight of the iron do its work.
Yes. There is no reason to be stretching these way out of whack. Okay. Then your next one that you're going to do is you're going to take your other piece and you're going to, let's just do the one. I have more of these over there. So here's my next piece. Make sure that you're lining it up so you have your V block. Now we're going to actually turn this over. Now, see how these tips, these two tips are lining right up, and this corner tip is lining right up. So what I'm going to do is...
Yep, there we go.
Yep.
Yep, so what she's talking about, it's not this joint, but it's this tip.
Yep, the very
right
tip.
there.
Yes. All right, so we've got our little bit of glue. Again, I'm going to line it up, making sure that it's all lined up. I'm going to check that I've even on the edges. You don't want it to shift sideways on you. That's one of the things. I can't tell you how many times I've seen work come in, and this one actually shows the wet dots, which is fine because that's going to disappear. So when you've got these all done, you're going to sew again your 1/4 inch, and you're going to end up with, let me just set these off, all of these wonderful, again, I chain pieced all of these to show you. And let's trim these apart. So now we're going to do the pen again. Let's just do the pen again. This will sink right in. Oh, this one really shows up. And I like to bring it out to the edges too. That just reinforces that my edges aren't going to fray. Oh, I had a really good pump on that one. Okay, again, now what we're going to do is simply press these open. I am pressing the seams to one side. If you see that, I'm pressing them flat. So here we go. Just press it. Oh, it's just beautiful. I love this process. This is so cool. Just press her down. One more. I wanted at least 3 because now we're going to go to the final stage, and that's going to show you how to trim these up, because you can see that these are a little extra wonky on the bottom. I am going to heat set these because we're going to go to the final stage now of trim. There we go. All right, let's go back over here. So just so you know, I spring this on Gabe, and he doesn't know what I'm going to do and that I'm moving around a lot. So he does a really good job. All right, so the first one we're going to do is we're going to have this turned upside down for us. And we're going to find, I'm doing the 4 inch, so I have to find the 4. Does it show up, Gabe, the 4? Here's the 4 inch line. See 4? Mm-hmm. 4 inch line. And that has to be nestled right in the V. That's why it's called the V block. Look at that. Nice and nestled right in the V block. See? I wish that could show up better on the camera.
It's showing up.
Okay, good. So now what we have to do is we have to trim this side and across the bottom. So we're going to trim across the sides and across there. And that gets rid of all that little excess. Now what I'm going to do, because I've trimmed this and this, I'm going to turn it in this direction. So now I have the 4 inch cutting line, and it's going to nestle. Let me get it lined up so I can show you. This dark X has to be right here on your V point. So make sure that you're there and you're there. Oops, wait a minute. Hang on. So I cut my sides like this. Correct. And this. So now we have to cut this and this.
Correct.
Okay. So my point has to be right there. I have to get it lined up. Hang on. I'm losing my lines. Get my lines. There's my 4. There's my 4. There's my little dark center right here. So now I have to trim across. Oh, hang on. Trim across there. Not lined up. Hang on. I'm getting too nervous. Jerky. Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me get it lined up correctly. I need the 4.5 and the 4.5. It's right there, right here, right here. It's nestled in there so I can trim this edge off and across the top. So Here we go. And here we go. And look at this. All right. Oh, I didn't catch the tail on that one. Didn't press hard enough. So there's my V block. And it's right in square with the other ones. But if you'll notice, oh, that's a different one. Hang on. But you'll notice this is the one that I did with the other rulers. And you have kind of the funky angles, which is not going to matter because it's going to be buried in your next seam allowance. But this one is nice and even across the bottom and across the top. Should we do that one more time, Gabe?
Sure.
All right, so we have to have it this way first. And you find your 4.5, and you find your V line. Right here and here. I've got the 4.5 here. But the most important thing is this V lines up and that we have it square within the ruler. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to trim the sides and across the bottom. We're not going to turn the ruler. We're going to rotate the block because I've already cut the one side and the one bottom. All right, now I'm going to find my square here and here. And I've got to make sure that that little notch here is right dead center. So now I can trim this. And there's not much to trim across the top. Just a smidge. And again, here are our blocks. Isn't that a beautiful block? Oh my gosh. So I've done some other ones. So now when you have these done, what are you going to do with all these blocks? So you can put these together like this. Let me pull some of my other blocks out here and show you. You can do them like this. We can put them together like this, like this. There are so many different ways of doing these. You can do this, you can do this, you could do mountains and peaks. So then you can actually cut some squares, which I did. I cut a 4.5-inch square. These are the easiest to work with. You can put your square in the center, and then you can build around your block. You can build around. You can do all kinds of fun, cool things. It's endless what you can do with these. You can make diamonds. You can make the wings floating around. So I brought my jacket out to show you that this is using the V block. So if you look at the back of the jacket, there is your V block. There is your V block here. So you can fussy cut your center. You can add extra blocks in your corner. I did it this way because this is a Halloween jacket and I wanted it to look almost like witches' hats. So what you can do with the V block is endless. But by using the Deb Tucker or any of the other rulers, you can get a really nice even block. I don't like doing this technique without a ruler. You can, but I have not mastered that. And because the rulers are so much fun for me to use, I'm probably not going to try. So give this, Gabe's laughing.
I wouldn't do this without a ruler.
I wouldn't do this without a ruler.
I don't like doing angles, so
I'm
a straight stitch person.
and I love angles. There's so much you can do with angles. You can have so much fun with these. You know, it's whatever you want to do. You can make full diamonds out of it. It's just fun. You could actually run these down a row and end up with all this cool stuff. And because these are so nicely pressed, going in the opposite directions, they're going to line up beautifully. You're not going to have any trouble lining those up. Look at how I haven't even sewn it yet, and they're really nice in line. Okay, so that's the V block ruler. Okay, how are we on time? That clock is off.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, all right. I don't know where we are in time. That clock stopped, and Gabe's on the phone, so we don't have a clock, and I don't care. So if we went over, we went over. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Happy quilting, everyone.